So we think we've got a pretty good idea of who some of the sources are behind these leaks. We don't know if the Department of Justice has been looking at these, but there's just been unprecedented things have happened, and I'll just close with this. You had conversations with the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Australia leak. You had leaks of the President Trump talking to the Mexican president leak. We all know the travesty of General Flynn. Nobody knows where those supposed transcripts came from. So those are just kind of three examples that are absolutely horrific. But there's things that are even worse that were leaked, and there's only a couple, 2 or 3 reporters involved in this, and so it wouldn't be hard to get to the bottom of. But you've got to. So we're prepared to make those 8 referrals this week. So the 2 on conspiracy, the 1 on global leaks, and then 5 that are more specific on lying, leaking, and misleading Congress.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to look at the latest breaking news as we enter the eye of the storm. President Trump has began by purging some of the top officials in the DHS and the Secret Service, and there's a good reason for it, and we're going to talk about that here, plus much, much more. And you guys just want to sit back and enjoy. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everyone who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here on the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you'll be notified when these videos get posted, and hit the thumbs up button, which is the like button, if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So today we're going to pick up right where we left off. The Q boards have been quiet. We haven't had much going on here, but for the lack of what's been going on here on the Q boards, let me tell you, there is a lot going on in the news, and we're going to cover some of these incredible stories, and we're going to connect some dots that you might not otherwise be connecting right now. So with that being said, we're going to kind of just get into the latest news coming out of the White House and other places today. But first, we're going to actually, if you guys want to get caught up on these last videos, I always encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. And if you want to learn more about QAnon and the Great Awakening, I always encourage everyone to watch this video right here. What is QAnon and the Great Awakening? That'll help you get caught up to where we're at now. Now, we're going to start by going back to a story that came out of Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Florida, where we have Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's, basically his resort slash club slash getaway, whatever you want to call it, golf getaway in South Florida that he owns. And we reported on a story here on the channel a while back. You guys can probably come back here and find this right here. This video, Spy Games, talking about a Chinese spy attempting to break in at Mar-a-Lago. Well, now more facts are coming out about this person who tried to break in, and it really is starting to look very suspicious. Like they were there, obviously working on behalf of the Chinese government. Now, before we get into the details of this story specifically, I want to talk about more broadly what China's been doing behind the scenes. I think it stands to reason that we could guess that a lot of the turmoil we're seeing here in South America is not just the Russians, and it's not just Soros. China is playing a huge role down there as well. And that's why I think they're trying to get any kind of information they can from the president or his people in his sphere, because they need to know what the administration plans to do with regard to Venezuela, Cuba, and other countries who are basically in the thralls of a deep, deep revolution right now, especially in Venezuela, where you see famine and you see widespread violence and just complete anarchy, and it's really, really starting to come to a head there. Now, the media always wants to report, oh, the Russians are going to Venezuela. Well, what about the Chinese? And what kind of mischief are they creating down there? I think it's something worth looking into, and it could be related directly back to this story where we have this woman. Her name was Yu Jingzheng, the Chinese woman who was arrested trying to enter President Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, apparently lied to everyone she encountered. And this is all coming out of the court hearings that took place just recently, where there was actually a testimony given by one of the Secret Service agents where apparently they have so what they found on this woman when they caught her was they found 4 cell phones. They found, well, here, I'll read it to you because it kind of says it right here. A search of her hotel room uncovered more than $8,000 in cash, as well as a signal detector device used to reveal hidden cameras. Found in the search was $7,500 in U.S. $100 bills and $663 in Chinese currency. In addition to 9 USB drives, 5 SIM cards, and other electronics, according to federal prosecutor Rolando Garcia. And they found signal detectors, which are portable devices that can detect radio waves, magnetic fields, and hidden camera equipment. So this person was obviously, let's just put it this way, innocent until proven guilty, due process, but it's really starting to look like this was a Chinese spy who was attempting to break into Mar-a-Lago to implant malware and to possibly steal information. Because if you go on and read through this story, it'll actually give you a lot more information about the preliminary hearings and all the analysis that's been going on about what she's been found to have had. They say, I think they're going to wait until next Monday to decide whether or not she'll be given a bond. They're in contact with the Chinese government in order to figure out what to do with this woman. And she had also, by the way, if you guys don't remember from last time or you didn't see that episode, she had 4 cell phones, laptop computer, and an external hard drive and a thumb drive that had malware on it. Now, what kind of correlation can we make between the purge that happened today with President Trump getting rid of the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, or the Director Head of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristen Nielsen, and also the Director of the Secret Service? This could all be connected to this big mess up here, because when they start interviewing the agent who is there working on going over the initial findings for what they had found on her, apparently this Samuel Ivanovich was basically the one who was interviewing Zhang when they detained her that day. And when they went to go do more research, apparently, I can't make this up, they put the malware USB into one of their computers, and it actually started automatically uploading some kind of virus malware into their laptop, to the point where they had to rip the USB drive out and basically start taking mitigating protocols to make sure that there was no severe breach. But the fact that you have Secret Service agents just jamming foreign countries' spies' USB drives into their government company laptops, their government issue laptops, should be very concerning, and that might have a little bit to do, among many, many other things. I'm not saying that the director of the Secret Service was released or was dismissed because of this. I think that the plans have been in effect a little bit before, but that's not to say that this was not a contributing factor, and not to mention the fact that this whole story goes on to talk about how now the FBI has had an ongoing investigation going for quite some time into this kind of pay for access, these pay for access people who have Chinese, who are connected to the Chinese, who are basically offering these services where you can get into Mar-a-Lago to meet the president. So was this used to gain access to the club in order to have this alleged possible Chinese spy to go in there and to basically conduct this incredible espionage work? Now, they're not saying espionage yet, but they're not ruling out that more charges may be coming in the future. So if you want to read through this story, it'll give you a lot more detail. I just thought it was very interesting to note that this is all happening at the same time as we are having the Secret Service director stepping down after Secretary Nielsen had stepped down as well. So the director of the Secret Service, Randolph Tex Ailes, is stepping down from his post, and they say this has a lot to do with the Department of Homeland Security head Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, stepping down as well, because apparently, I guess, the director of the Secret Service reports to the director, or the Secretary of Homeland Security. So this is very much interconnected. And just to I want to make this very clear. I have the utmost respect for the Secret Service. People can make mistakes and errors. I don't want this to sound like I'm going off on the Secret Service. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it was not more than a year ago that they were in the New York Times writing fantasy stories, short stories about President Trump being actually assassinated by a Russian who used a gun of a Secret Service agent. Now, this is a story reported straight out of Fox News, where they were having these fictional stories written by it's hard to explain. The short stories are written by the Times online book review page. So the New York Times has this online book review page, and they were asking people to submit these short stories. One of the short stories was called How It Ends by Zoe Sharp, which was a chilling story about a drunken Russian's plot to murder the president with a Makarov pistol. Sharp's particular story doesn't mention Trump by name, but it's no secret as the collection of stories is headlined, Five Novelists Imagine Trump's Next Chapter. So, I mean, the Secret Service have a very tough job, and some of these crazy nut jobs on the left and in the New York Times and all these Washington Post, they're not making the job that any easier. And I just want to get that out on the front end to say that I respect the work that they do, but obviously there's a shakeup and it's happening for a reason, and we're really two big issues. There are really two big issues at hand here. You have the issue of border security, where Kirstjen Nielsen is just obviously, in my opinion, not doing a good enough job. She's not tackling this. She was not tackling this problem with the necessary severity that it needs to be dealt with. And also, you have the director of the Secret Service, who is obviously, according to several articles, not working to make the agency stronger, more or less just trying to appease his buddies and to keep his job. So that's the kind of thing that we don't want, and that might be just good riddance. So back to other news, we have international censorship in the UK is starting up here. Now, this story talks about how the UK is going to keep social networks in check with a supposed internet safety regulator. Now, what is this person's duty? It's to patrol the social media platforms and make sure that they live up to their duty of care to internet users. Now, this is obviously a part of the Article 13 that's passed, and there is an incredible amount of skepticism as to how this will work and how they'll be able to do this without completely infringing on the rights of people to have free speech. But, you know, in a lot of other countries, they don't have free speech written and designated as we do in the Constitution. And it's really a shame, because these old aristocracies of the European Union, the old aristocratic blue bloods who still control everything, although they pretend to have a parliamentary democracy, excuse me, I don't know why I can't say that, but they pretend to have that. While they do that, then they basically just take over and do whatever they want, as you see with Brexit and the inability for Theresa May to get a deal to leave the European Union. It's because the people behind the scenes will not cut those strings. They will not release these subjects, because they're not free citizens. They are subjects of the crown. And I hate to say it and be so blunt, but that's why we want a revolution against these people, to be quite frank. So, but let's see what they're going to do. The regulator will be tasked with ensuring social media companies are tackling a range of online problems, including inciting violence and spreading violent content, including terrorist content, encouraging self-harm or suicide, the spread of disinformation and fake news, cyberbullying, children accessing inappropriate material, child exploitation and abuse content. I can agree with almost all these things, but the one that should terrify you, if you're a citizen of any country, is this: they're going to stop the spread of disinformation. Well, who says what disinformation and fake news is? The people manufacturing the fake news and disinformation. So that should really make you feel comfortable that the propaganda press is going to be saying, "Oh, well, that's disinformation," and they're going to be like, call up the internet safety regulator, and we're gonna shut them down. Well, guess what? You know, this is getting really serious, and I think this could affect somebody like myself and others' channels, content in the European Union and in Britain. Or in the UK. So, look, this affects me as well, and I think it's really disgusting and it's sad, and this is really a point at which people can come together and say, you know, is this really what we want as a nation? And I hope that you guys continue to push and fight against this. There's a lot of good people fighting that fight right now, and it's just really unfortunate. Now, here is a crazy story. Apparently, today, the TV actress who was from Smallville, this Allison Mack, who was involved in this NXIVM secret sex cult, where she was basically holding women against their will and branding them and forcing them into sexual acts that they were not willing or not wanting to participate in. She's pled guilty, just like out of the blue. And she basically just owned up to it all. She was like, hey, Here, I'll read this quote here from this article. It says, court papers allege Nexium formed a secret society of women who were branded with Rainier's, who's the head, Keith Rainier's initials, and forced to have sex with him. Defense attorneys have insisted any relationship between Rainier and the alleged victims, including an unidentified actress and other women expected to testify against him at trial, was consensual. On Monday, Allison Mack said that at Rainier's direction, she obtained compromising information and images of two unidentified women called collateral within the group that she threatened to make public if they didn't perform so-called acts of love. The jury questionnaire covers topics, and it kind of goes on to talk about that. But we can also go back to Q, and Q told us that this would happen, right? I'll show you the post right here. Remember back in April 2018, so last year, Q said, Mac is naming names, big names in Hollywood, government, local, federal. Proof, the Standard Hotel, helicopter crash, all related. Future will prove past. Adam Schiff, feeling okay today? What is the Mexico border Long Beach port so important? Or why? TikTok, LLC, Q. Now remember, back then, this is when we started making the connections between Adam Schiff, the Standard Hotel. There was a helicopter crash where one of the managers from the Standard Hotel, I believe, passed away, who may have had knowledge of certain things that were related to individuals that go straight back to Allison Mack and what was happening here. And then it talks about the Mexico border Long Beach port. Well, they're so important because you would imagine that those are places where you could possibly be doing some human trafficking that may be related back to what we are discussing here. Because, for instance, one of the defendants in this case, which was brought against Nexium, and one of the people who was involved with it was actually accused, and I believe that they admitted to locking a South American, or I think it was a Mexican, I'm not sure what nationality, but they were locking them in the closet and forcing them to do labor in their house. Like, basically, it's like if they had a maid who they locked in the closet and said, look, you're going to clean our house, or we're going to tell ICE or whoever that you're not here legally, and they're going to deport you. So that's the kind of thing these people were into, and this is really telling that we knew almost over a year ago. Q said this was going to happen, and now it is. She's basically spilled her guts, and she said, look, she was a part of all this, and she's pled guilty. And of course, around that same time, we were getting all this information about these incredible connections that could be made between, I believe this is Wendy Nixon with Barack Hussein, and Allison Mack and Adam Schiff. So if you want to start looking up information on those names, you can. We've already gone through this in previous episodes. Suffice it to say that there are some very weird connections between Hussein, this girl Wendy Nixon, this Allison Mack character, and Adam Schiff. And it all talks about this social media influencer here, of course, who was West Hollywood's Mariah Sunshine Coogan, identified as a victim of a Scottsdale airplane crash. So, these people tie up their loose ends, man. And I'm not saying anything, and this was from a year ago, so maybe it's apropos that it's all coming back into the news now. But yeah. And don't forget that Claire Bronfman was involved in this, the Seagram's heiress. Now, who is Bronfman directly tied to? The Rothschilds. So, you see how these people are connected, and how they all work in the same circles. So I think that's definitely something that we were wanted to cover here on the episode today. So if you guys want to dig deeper on that, I'll leave links to everything. You guys can keep doing your own research, and I just want to bring this stuff to your attention. So now in closing, and the most incredibly obvious story there is out there, Eric Swalwell has announced he's running for president. Hey! Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because this is what they're all doing. Especially these clown talking heads that were basically a part of this whole dissemination of disinformation and propaganda with this whole Russia collusion thing. You have a guy like Eric Swalwell who's coming out now and saying basically, look, I'm going to run for president. Well, why would he be running for president? Well, Q's given us a hint about this in the past. What does it look like if the Attorney General, let's take all this into account. You remember in the beginning of this video, I showed you that clip of Devin Nunes talking about there are multiple criminal referrals that are being put out. Let's start connecting some dots on that. multiple criminal referrals being put out for members of Congress and other individuals leaking classified information, where it was right now, as of now, he says there's 8 criminal referrals, but we also covered in the last video, if you'll remember, that those criminal referrals could include dozens of individuals being named in this criminal conspiracy. Well, maybe Eric Swalwell will be one of them people, right? It looks like it. Let's just say it this way. When you look at this, it really looks like what Q's told us before about what does it look like if they come out and say, we're going to go after Eric Swalwell for we have a criminal referral. We're going to go after him. We're going to get a grand jury and we're going to try to get the indictment to say you were lying. You were leaking classified information to the press. Well, if he's running for president, it looks like President Trump is using his power as president to go after his political adversaries. And that'll be a whole nother spin. Just like they've spun this stupid story out of the Russia nothing burger. Now it's, oh, we need to get all President Trump's tax returns. And he could have still been a really bad spy, you know, a really secret and bad spy. It doesn't matter if Robert Mueller didn't find anything. What matters is that I feel like President Trump's a spy. It's so ridiculous. And now you have these clowns like Swalwell, like, oh, I'm going to go run for president. Yeah, that way if President Trump or Attorney General Barr puts an indictment out on me, I could say, look, you know, I'm being politically targeted. Oh, it's so transparent. We can see right through this nonsense. That's what's so frustrating about it, especially with a guy like Swalwell, who is the most smug and just devoid of any self-awareness and just completely lacking in what I would call true morality. So look, these are the people who are trying to do this. And don't forget, Schiff and Swalwell and Waters and Jackson Lee, they're all basically doing the same thing. They are trying to cover for what has been one of the largest criminal conspiracies executed against the president of the United States and against we the American people. Don't forget, it's not just about one man sitting in an office in Washington, D.C. We the American people were betrayed by these members of Congress who swore oaths to the Constitution to defend it, and they have obviously, according to what I've seen, the information I've seen, it's very obvious that there's a very high possibility that these individuals broke that oath and broke the law in doing so. So that's pretty much where we're going to have to go ahead and leave this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. A couple ways you can help the channel. First of all, come here, click the big red subscribe button if you guys like the content. Also, don't forget to hit the bell if you want the notifications, and hit that likes button if you guys want to see me make more of this kind of content. That's always a good indicator for me. If you guys like what you're seeing, hit that like button. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you have to think about everything that we covered here. If I missed anything, go down and throw it in the comments, or just go down there and have a conversation. There's so many great patriots who just want to talk about what's going on, and I always encourage that dialogue down there. Watch these videos, share them on your social media. That's another great way you can help. But there's a couple other ways. First way you can do it is to come over here to the crowdfunding website, Patreon. There's a link in the description, and you guys, all you have to do is come here, click this button. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. You know, you're helping create content on this channel on a regular basis, and I can't tell you how you guys have made this possible. If it had to be just with YouTube, it would not be. I wouldn't be able to keep doing what I do. So I'm very thankful to everyone who has helped and contributed, and who continues to contribute here. If you guys want to get involved, you can come here, click this button, become a patron. Like I said, link will be in the description, as well as a link to this, a GoFundMe page I set up just in case you want to make a one-time donation or anonymous donation. I have this up as a link in the description as well. Also, don't forget to come find me on Twitter at JustInformYou. You can get all my funny, clever, hilarious tweets. You guys definitely come hit that follow button, and we can have a conversation over here on Twitter, and I really enjoy that. Now, also, come check out justinformednews.com. It's the official website for Just Informed Talk. You get links to all the Q stuff. You get links to real news sources. You get links to different breaking news, and you get all the videos from the channel here. And one thing that I'm changing about this channel is I'm going to start having content published here daily. Now, I've already, in the last video, I asked for people to reach out to me. Thank you to everyone who's reached out to me. I haven't had a chance to get back to every single one of you, but I am very interested in talking to some of you about becoming regular contributors. If you're interested in becoming a regular contributor and you have, I want to preface this by saying I'm looking for people with experience in journalism. I'm looking for people with experience in investigatory journalism, and people who have been published, have articles or have written before. I'm willing to pay. So I'm trying to get good people involved. I'm going to start publishing here daily, but I'm trying to put it all together on the back end first. So I'm just looking for good talent. So if you're interested and you have some of those qualifications and you want to reach out, go to justinformedtalk@gmail.com. Write me at justinformedtalk@gmail.com, and you can send me over any examples of your work. If you have a resume, whatever it is, send it my way. I'd love to talk to you guys about becoming contributors. I'm already looking at some very interesting people, and thank you so much for your interest. I will get back to you all as soon as I can. But with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. A few more things, or one more thing, the most important thing before we go is God's grace is greater. It's a segment we do at the end of each one of these episodes where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for today's scripture, I want to read out of Psalm 13. We're going to read this scripture and then we'll talk about it for a minute. And it's Psalm 13, 2-6. It says, "How long will I store up anxious concerns within me, agony in my mind every day? How long will my enemy dominate me? Consider me and answer, Lord my God. Restore brightness to my eyes, otherwise I will sleep in death. My enemy will say, I have triumphed over him, and my foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I have trusted in your faithful love. My heart will rejoice in your deliverance. I will sing to the Lord because he has treated me generously." And that psalm's actually called a plea for deliverance. And it's a calling out to God to say, God, how long will this last? How long will my suffering go on? And how long will I have to wait before I can see your true glory? And I think what the point of it is that you have to just go straight to seeing God's glory, even in the midst of the worst kinds of situations when your enemies are trying to dominate you. And when they're giving you the anxiety of not knowing whether or not you're going to be saved or whether you're going to be successful. And I think one of the things that we have to trust is God always. And we have to put that trust above all else. And we have to understand that even though we may go through some tough times, and it may be a part of us rebuilding ourselves or a part of something that we need to go through to learn something to become better for our future selves so that we can be the men or women that God needs in the world, all of that is a part of God's plan. And what we're called to do is trust in the Lord. And that to me is the message I want to leave you with. But remember, having trusted in your faithful love, in God's faithful love, I should say, that's how we transcend these roadblocks and these adversities that come to us. And that's where I want to leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember, great time now to do it. Come here, click the subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell. If you guys like this content and want to see me make more of these, hit that like button. That lets me know you guys like it and want to see more. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.